Hello, welcome to this video. It's produced by Maritime Law. My name is Gilles and I sailed on several ships and visited a few hundreds as a class surveyor. This video will brief you on the history of the rules and regulations on the ship. Starting point is the first classification society, Lloyd's. I will show you how disasters at sea ended up in regulations. I will explain different governments, how they collaborate, and until the modern time the disaster still happens. So we will start in the 18th century in London. According to Lloyd's Register, it all started in Edward Lloyd's coffee house. In 1760 a register was started to give their customers like merchants and underwriters an insight in the seaworthiness of the different ships. The register book rated at first the vessel's condition after the hull and equipment was surveyed by an independent captain. The first class society, Lloyd's Register, was born. In the 19th century, steam and steel replaced the sailing ships. Lloyd's Register started to develop new rules and regulations. Merchants and underwriters in other countries acknowledged the benefits of this independent surveying of quality, and competitors were started like, for example, DNV, GL, BV, ABS and 50 others. In the beginning, ship owners were pushed through the rating of the ships by merchants and underwriters. Nowadays, ships have to be mandatory classed as a part of service. The first Solar Convention was spawned by the Titanic disaster in 1912. The life of many passengers were not saved just because of a lack of lifeboats. Class society developed engineer standards for its hull and equipment. Having in mind that a ship should stand at least one disaster at a time, rules for survival after a double disaster doesn't belong to the technical standard, therefore not to the class. After the first Solar Convention, where the lifeboats were an issue, it took some decades before governments were willing to look into international maritime agreements. Finally, in 1948, during an international convention in Geneva of the United Nations, established the International Maritime Organization called IMO. The IMO has many tasks, but the main tasks are to organize conventions and to look after the ratifications of the agreements made by each member. Legalization of the convention is defined during this convention. The IMO uses measurements like gross tonnage and the amount of signing members. To ratify specific convention, each ratifying member still has to adopt the convention into their own national law system to legalize the agreement of that convention. The IMO itself prints the convention and sells it. The flag states have the authority not to ratify some or all conventions. The flag state on the ship is the highest authority on that ship. If a flag state doesn't ratify a convention, it means that the ship doesn't have to comply to this convention. When it sails in national waters and ports, as soon as the ship enters an international port, it has to fulfill the main regulations of the conventions. Officers of the port state can stop any vessel on ground on the main principle of international accepted conventions. flag states can have regulations which are stricter than the conventions. A flag state can decide not to ratify convention just for one or two issues in this convention. So where do you find where a specific flag did or did not ratify the convention? Please go to the IMO website and follow the clicks about IMO, about convention, and then status of convention. You can download the Excel into your computer, and you see on the top the different conventions. On the left side you will see the different members of flag states. In the table you can just easily find which flag states will ratify which convention. The flag state, you can visit the governmental webpage. Here you can find the law and the shipping circulars. In those circulars you can read the interpretation of the flag state of the conventions. As we saw before, the first Solis Convention was spawned by the disastrous sinking of the Titanic. All conventions have their origin in some kind of disaster. So to understand the origin of regulations, you should understand which disasters are actually big enough to change the regulations. The sinking of a passenger ship and the deaths of passengers is one of those. But also large oil spills are seen as a disaster. These two disasters are categorized in 4 groups. The first cause is the collision between ships, icebergs, rocks and islands. Example of the Titanic and of course the Concordia. Secondly, cause is seen as a fire on board, and fire can melt the metal, which causes a hole in entering water into the ship. A fire can also cause an explosion of the cargo. One of the major explosions in the history was the 1917 in Halifax. The SS Mont Blanc caught fire after a collision with another ship. Within 20 minutes the cargo exploded, destroying part of the city, causing a lot of deaths. Fire in energy rooms will cause blackouts and not under command of that ship. Both can lead to dangerous situations like groundings and collisions. Third category are the hurricanes and storms. Example is Erika, a 24 years old oil tanker, braked into 2 pieces due to high waves in the Gulf of Biscay. This happened in 1999 and is one of the reasons of the enhanced surveys of tankers. Main purpose of this enhanced survey is to find out if the old tanker is still strong enough or that there's too much steel is corroded away. Based for this survey are the close-up surveys by the surveyor and the thickness measurements of almost the entire ship. Also, the regulation about coatings of ballast tanks has its origin in protection of steel against corrosion and has their origin in this kind of disaster. The force and the spectrospore storms can surprise ships at anchor, causing colliding and grounding of this ship. Since 2013 there is a new category where 5-year-old container ships break into 2 middle of the sea. Reason not yet known. Other famous disasters which led to new regulations are the Herald of Free Enterprise in 1987 and the Estonia in 1994. Both are a roll-on type and both capsized due to leaking of an open bow door, resulting in a large free water service which capsized the ship within a few minutes. The Marple can be thanked to the Amoco Cadiz grounding near France in 1978 and the Exxon Valdez near Alaska. Both tankers had a large oil spill. The Limburg, a tanker who was bombed in 2002, helped to increase the speed of implementation of the ISPS. In this overview of the history of rules and regulations, we saw that the class society started with ranking ratings of ships for merchants and underwriters. They still class ships according to technical rules. In the 20th century, the flag states bundled the regulations via the IMO. Regulation mostly started by disasters of passenger ships and tankers. Regulations have a strong focus on people and environment. The latest Maritime Labour Convention, MLC, is taking it a step further by focusing on the living conditions and contracts of the seamen. I hope that you have enjoyed the video from Maritime Law, the free e-learning channel.